There is a, like as we learned when we were studying demand, as we learned that the quantity demanded doesn't only change because of price. The fundamental law of demand says yes, price and quantity demanded are inversely associated, but at the same time we can also see the changes in demand because of several other factors, say for income, the number of buyers, the tastes and preferences, so on and so forth. So when we have income elasticity of demand, that says that how much my demand changes with percentage change in income. So this is nothing but from price it moves to the income. So price elasticity of demand says with changes in price, percentage change in price, what is the percentage change in quantity demanded. Here in income elasticity of demand, we say with the percentage change in demand for any good, the responsive change in demand for any good holding its price constant, divided by the percentage change in income. That means with the percentage change in income, how much change in demand takes place, price being constant. Therefore, in income elasticity of demand, we say that I stands for income. This is nothing but as percentage change in demand divided by percentage change in income. So we can estimate it as, say, change in demand divided by change in income. If you want to take it as an arc elasticity, then change in demand by average demand or average quantity divided by change in income by average income. So this is following the concept of arc elasticity. And what we understand in terms of income elasticity of demand, that shows a horizontal shift in the demand curve. That's right, yeah, horizontal shift, it increases, the demand curve shifts parallelly. So if this was my demand with the price remaining same, the demand increases, so there is an horizontal shift of the demand curve. So with there is a horizontal shift in the demand curve with change in income, so there is an income elasticity of demand. So whereas price elasticity of demand changes the shows the movement along the demand curve, and we have seen that where exactly, with the given the elasticity of demand or elasticity of demand, unit elasticity of demand, and how the total revenue changes. Therefore, the income elasticity of demand can be either positive or negative. Now, why can the income elasticity of demand be either positive or negative? EI, income elasticity of demand, can either greater than 0 or EI can be less than 0, or EI can eventually be equals to 0 as well. So what does this greater than 0 means? Greater than 0 means when that the change in income, with the change in income, the change in demand, percentage change in demand increases, or the demand increases with the income, then the income elasticity is greater than 0. When with the rise in income there is no change in the demand, then this is 0. When the rise in income declines the demand for a particular commodity, when with the rise in income the demand for a particular commodity, which is generally happens with the inferior commodities, right? With the rise in income we move to the better commodities, so the demand for a particular commodity declines. So when the rise in income declines the demand for the commodity, then our income elasticity is less than 0. So over here, rise in income leads to rise in demand. Rise in income leads to fall in demand. Rise in income leads to no change in demand. Yes. Now, price elasticity of supply. It's the same thing when we talk about the price elasticity of supply. This is the responsiveness of quantity supplied with the change in price. So, price elasticity of supply is the responsiveness of quantity supplied with change in price or with the rise in price. So that shows that when we have a price elasticity of supply, we can keep it as E small s, and then this is the percentage change similar to the demand in quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price. Yes, so in case of perfect elasticity of supply, in case of perfect elasticity of supply or perfectly elastic supply, whichever way, in case of perfectly elasticity supplied, this quantity supplied falls to 0 when there is slightest fall or decline in price. That means if the price is falling, the supplier is no more interested in supplying that commodity anymore. So this is a perfectly elastic supply. So even if slight change in price, the quantity supplied is falling down to 0, and then the supply curve is horizontal. I can write it like supply curve is horizontal to price. Yes, next is classifying perfectly inelastic supply. In perfectly inelastic supplied, quantity supplied doesn't have any impact. Quantity supplied doesn't change with change in price. And it's a vertical to price. That means the quantity supplied remains same even if the price is changing. This is vertical. The quantity supplied remains same. It's a vertical to the given a price. So the extreme, these are the two extremes, where these are perfectly inelastic and these are perfectly elastic. Inelastic and this is elastic. Two extremes. So and generally the price elasticity of supply, the price elasticity of supply can be adjusted again given the time. So that in terms of the determinants of price elasticity of supply, determinants of ES, price elasticity of supply, one is longer the time for adjustment it can lead to more resource flow into that industry or the plant, and hence an industry expands with the existing number of existing firms, you know. So with the longer of the time, the elasticity generally comes down. The second is the longer the time allowed, the entry of firms increases or decreases depending upon the firm's, you know, the condition or the scenario of that market in a particular industry. It may it may enter, it may exit. On the other hand, with the given the time, my, you know, so longer the time, the given entry or exit of firms, thus production of the industry either increase or decrease respectively. Yes, what happens when we have short run and long run price elasticity of supply? Just contrary to the demand curve, in case of, you know, in case of short run to long run, the price elasticity of supply, it moves this way. Yes, so it becomes more inelastic to more elastic. So from this, from say this is my S1, S2 and S3, if this is my quantity and this is my price, so with the given price, there was elasticity in S1, and when time increases, it becomes elastic and moves towards the more flatter elasticity, and hence the supply curve is flat as compared to the short run in a long run phenomena. Thank you.